The process of buying a golf launch monitor can be a ton of fun, and at the same time it can also be totally daunting. There is no one size fits all. There is no best. There's only what is best for you, and if you've never bought one before, knowing what that best is, it can be kind of tricky to find because there's a lot of noise out there and a lot of products that each have their own pros and cons. So before you go out and buy that launch monitor, watch this video where I'm gonna go over 10 questions you wanna make sure you have an answer to before you make that final decision. Ready? Let's do this thing. All right, first question might seem obvious, but actually it's not. A lot of people don't put enough thought into this question, and that is, why do you want one? What are you going to do with it? Is it to get better? Is it to have fun? Is it to play golf in the off season at home? Is it to play golf via a simulator with your friends? Is it to work on your swing? Like, what? Why? Because there are all sorts of reasons to get a golf launch monitor, but understanding fundamentally why you want to use it most, what is the goal of doing it, that is going to help you narrow down which launch monitor is right for you. All right, second question is, where are you going to use a launch monitor? Are you looking for a permanent at-home setup? Are you looking to hit into a net in your backyard? Are you looking for a launch monitor you can take out to the range for practice sessions? Do you want a device that's flexible and can do all of those things? Understanding where you're going to use it's actually really important. But you should really think about this specifically. Like if you're planning to use it on the range, think about what range you are planning to use it on. Is it a big public driving range that's got multiple stories and has lots of metal everywhere? Well, then a Doppler radar device may not be the best for you. And if you don't know what that is, we'll talk about that in a second. Are you a member at a nice club where your driving range is all grass? Great, there's certain devices that do better on grass than others. So having a specific understanding of the where is going to help make some of these follow-up questions a lot easier to answer. Next question, how much space do you have? And so this is really important because different launch monitors use different amounts of space. So for instance, if say you're looking at the Bushnell Launch Pro, that is an optical launch monitor that uses a camera-based system. So because of that, you need less space than if you were using a Doppler radar-based system, which you have to place behind the ball and it needs enough information to track what that ball is doing. So if you've got tight quarters in your garage or basement and you don't have 7 to 8 feet behind the ball, you don't have 7 to 8 feet in front of the ball, then a lot of those Doppler radar-based options are not going to be a good fit for you. On the other hand, if space isn't a concern and you want a device that's really flexible and provides a lot of options and great bang for the buck, some of the Doppler radar options may be better for you. But if you don't have the space for them, either at home or at your backyard or at your range or wherever it might be, then they're just not going to be a good fit. So you want to make sure you're looking for the right type of device based on where you are planning to use it most. Which leads us to the next question of, is there a technology that you prefer? So I've just mentioned the two main types of golf launch monitor technology, Doppler radar and optical cameras. And there are some devices that use a combination of both of these things. But generally speaking, like I just said, a Doppler radar device is something you're going to place behind the ball and it's going to need a little bit more space than an optical camera one. An optical device, you're going to put right next to the ball. So if you line up like this, the device is going to go right in front of you. So you don't really need any room behind you and you generally only need about 8 feet in front of you. So just using rough numbers, an optical device is going to take up about half the amount of space as a Doppler radar device. But if you're on a budget, say under $1,000, under $1,500, there's not really a good optical solution. So budget, which we're going to talk about in a second, may be a deciding factor there. Generally speaking, it's not like one is better than the other. For instance, kind of the gold standard of launch monitors is a TrackMan, which costs upwards of $30,000, $40,000. That is a Doppler radar launch monitor. You also have the Foresight GC Quad Max, which is an optical launch monitor, and that costs like $20,000. So with both Doppler and optical, there are very good, very high-end, very accurate devices using both of those different technologies. It really comes down to what is going to be right for you, your needs, your space, your budget. But one important thing to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out what type of technology is best for you is think about who is going to be using this device. So if you have an optical device that's camera-based that sits right in front of you, that's really only going to cater to people that are all right or all left-handed. So if you're playing simulated golf and you've got multiple golfers, it's really not going to be very user-friendly to have to continue to pick it up and move that launch monitor back and forth to accommodate golfers that are both right and left-handed. So chances are, if that's something you're going to be doing a lot, you're probably going to want a Doppler radar device that sits behind you and can very easily accommodate both types of golfers. The other alternative to that is if you're planning to set up a higher end dedicated simulator space, you can use an overhead device, which are essentially optical devices, but because they're above you, they can easily cater to both right, left-handed golfers. There's no fiddling around with anything. It just sits there, it does its job, and it's very convenient. But it's also very expensive. The starting price of overhead units, at minimum, you're looking at about $5,000, which is going to be a lot more than the starting price of either a Doppler or an optical professional unit. So that's really only going to be for people that are setting up a dedicated simulator space, but if you were doing that, that's definitely something to consider. All right, next up, this might be the biggest differentiator and the most important question to answer, and that is, what's your budget? Because these things can cost anywhere from $200 to $300 up to $20, $30, $40, $50,000 or more. And in many cases, it's not just the cost of the launch monitor you need to consider. So if you're looking for a budget device just to stick in your backyard, hit into a net, or take out to the range with you, that's probably fine. For under $500, you can get a device that's going to be reasonably accurate, make practice more fun, get you some of those numbers, and be a great entry point into the world of golf launch monitors. But even then, if you're planning to do this in your backyard, you're going to need a net to hit into, and then you're going to need a mat to hit off of. So all of that should factor into your budget. In many cases, if you're looking for the most accurate numbers, you might need to get some special balls. Titleist RPT balls, for instance, which are going to help you get more accurate spin numbers. So all of these things need to factor in when you're deciding on your budget. How much should you plan or expect to spend on your launch monitor? Well, it really depends on what your goals are. So if you're just looking for something you can take out to the range and have fun with, you can do it for $500. If you're looking for a nice backyard setup with a mat and a net, you can probably do that for under $1,000, but I would plan for probably, $1,000 to $2,000 to make sure you're getting everything that you need. If you're planning to build a simulator at home, absolute minimum I would plan on is like $2,000, and that's for a fairly janky setup. That might be assuming you're using a TV that you already have and you're not needing to buy a projector. All of these things can add up and make that be much more expensive. If you're looking to get more of a pseudo-professional setup, something that really feels like a proper golf simulator, you should probably expect to be spending at least $7,500 to, have the mat, have the projector, have the impact screen, have the launch monitor, have the balls. These things add up pretty quickly, and while you can certainly do it on a budget, just make sure you're factoring in all of the things that you need and really deciding how professional you want it to look and feel. As for the price of the launch monitors themselves, if you're looking for a basic consumer-friendly Doppler radar device, I'd expect to spend at minimum $500 to $1,000. That's going to get you in the range of the Voice Caddy SC4 Pro, the Garmin Approach R10, and the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, as well as the Square Golf, which is a newer one that I haven't yet reviewed, but those are the ones, if you're looking for a full-on budget device, those are the ones I would be considering. If you have a little bit more money to spend, the FlightScope Mevo Plus is my overall best recommendation. If you use our coupon code BREAKING80PLUS, and depending on if they have any current sales going, you're going to be able to get that starting out at probably right around like $1,800. And then there's going to be some add-ons on top of that if you want extra features and extra data. But that's a great middle-of-the-road device that can do just about everything at a great price point, assuming you have the space for a Doppler radar unit, because that one's going to need about 15 feet all in from the screen to where the device is placed in order to get you accurate data. If you're looking for an optical launch monitor, you should plan to spend at least $2,000. The Bushnell Launch Pro ball only without any of the club data, that retails for right around $2,000. The SkyTrack Plus retails for $3,000, but you can often find it for around $2,500. The Unicore iMini Lite is $2,800. So for a good optical device, minimum, you're probably going to be in that $2,000 to $3,000 range. And then as I mentioned, if you're looking for an overhead device, plan to spend $5,000 or quite a bit more. When it comes to budget, there's also one other thing to consider, and that's how okay are you with a subscription? Because most of these devices are going to have subscription fees to unlock all the features or to be able to use third-party software products, and it's kind of frustrating, but it's just the nature of the game. So these subscriptions can range from a relatively nominal, like $100 a year, all the way up to like $500 for the Bushnell Launch Pro. So if you want to use pretty much any software, whether it's on an iPad or a gaming PC with the Launch Pro, you're going to have to spend $500. So while it's got a great starting price, that's $500 every year, and that's going to be a big consideration for most people. So as you're thinking about which launch monitor is right for you, make sure you do your research on what their subscriptions are, because the actual cost of ownership over 5 years may be quite a bit more than you think it is. And if you hate the idea of subscriptions and you want a device that doesn't have one, well, the options I would look at are the Voice Caddy SC4 Pro for around $500, the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, which is $699 with a subscription fee of $199, but they have recently made it that for $500 you can unlock it and you get it for life. So for $1,200 all in, you can get the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, which is a pretty good deal. The FlightScope Mevo Plus that I mentioned does not have any subscription at all, and for all the features that it offers, that's really one of its biggest selling points. And then on the higher end, you can get the Foresight GC3, which is essentially the exact same device as the Bushnell Launch Pro, just has a different pricing structure, but the retail price on that is $7,500. You have no subscription, you get all software for life, versus the $2,000 for the Launch Pro, but you're paying that $500 subscription fee every year. So if you don't want a subscription fee at all, those are the ones I would look at. Hey, real quick, I hope that this has been useful so far. I just wanted to mention two quick things before we keep going. The first, if you're still not sure which launch monitor is right for you, go take our 30-second quiz. I will link to that below. You're gonna answer a few questions about what you're looking for, and I'm going to give you my best recommendation on the device I think is going to be best based on your needs. It's real quick, and you can do that while you're watching the video. The link is below. Second, and I feel like this is an obvious thing, but I wanna make sure I mention it, it's that if you click on any of the product links below, or if you use the coupon codes and buy any of the products I mention, I will get an affiliate commission. You think that makes me biased? I totally understand. You can go elsewhere, do your own research, don't click those links, whatever it is. I just want you to know I truly don't care if you buy any of these products or not. My whole goal here at Breaking 80 is just to help you find the right products for your needs. So with all that said, let's jump back into the questions you should ask before buying a launch monitor. Okay, next question you should ask, and this is kind of a tricky one, but hear me out on this. That is, how accurate do you want it to be? Now, your initial reaction is probably like, well, I want it to be totally accurate. Why would I buy a device that's not accurate? Well, as you might imagine, when you have launch monitors ranging from $200 to $50,000, there's different levels of accuracy. Now, a lot of those less expensive ones, they can do a pretty good job of getting reasonably close. Close enough to be able to understand some of your numbers. Close enough to make range practice more fun. Close enough to get a general idea of where you're at. But a lot of those cheaper devices, the metrics aren't actually measured. They are calculated using an algorithm. Most of those, like the MLM2 Pro, the R10, the SC4 Pro, all of those, they're gonna have like 4 to 6 metrics that they're actually going to measure. And then all of the additional metrics are going to be calculated based on an algorithm. So essentially, it's their best guess on what those are. And usually, under the right conditions, all of those devices I just mentioned do a pretty good job of it, but you should know that they still are guesses. Generally speaking, the more you're willing to pay, the more accurate the device is going to get, and the more metrics that it's going to directly measure as opposed to calculate. Are you just looking to have fun with your friends and have simulator golf be relatively close? Then you don't need it to be quite as accurate. Are you a teaching professional or a club fitter? Well, then accuracy is going to be very important and you're going to need to spend more money on your device. Are you a competitive scratch golfer that knows what all of your metrics are and you know what all of those numbers do that are going to be relatively obscure and confusing to most casual golfers? Then it might be worth it to spend a little bit more. But in my experience, for most people, you don't need that absolute supreme level of accuracy. All of the devices that I mentioned so far are going to be at least reasonably accurate when set up properly. And that's key, because with every single device I have mentioned, I have also gotten dozens of emails of literally every single one of these products from people saying, it's not accurate, it doesn't work, it's 20 yards short, da 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 da. For every single one of those products, I've also received dozens of emails from people saying, this is great, it's dead on, I love my choice, this was fantastic. But so much of it, especially with these less expensive units, comes down to just making sure you're using them in the proper conditions and you are taking the time to set it up properly. I've got a whole video on my thoughts on launch monitor accuracy, so if this is a concern for you, I'll link to that below and you can go check it out. After accuracy, the next kind of related question you want to answer is, what statistics are most important to you? For some people, all you care about is carry numbers. All you care about is how far the ball is going. And if that's all you care about, great, because you can spend quite a bit less than the person who really needs club path data and accurate spin numbers and angle of attack and all sorts of numbers like that. With each device, you really want to look carefully at what metrics it provides, if they are calculated or measured, and which ones of those you actually need. So for instance, a big surprise to a lot of people is that as of the time of filming this in early 2025, there is no angle of attack on the SkyTrack Plus. This is a really important metric for a lot of people that are working on their swing, and for $3,000, that is a metric most people expect to have. So I've talked to a number of people where because it's missing that one metric, that's a deal breaker, and they went with a different unit. Many devices also differentiate between ball-only data and club data. So if you want carry distance, total distance, spin numbers, apex, all that ball data, you're going to be able to get that for less than if you also want club data. So if you're looking for like the entire D-plane suite where you're getting face to path, face to target, club path, all of that data, you're probably going to need to spend a little bit more. So for instance, with the FlightScope Mevo Plus, that data comes in the form of an upgrade called the Pro package. With the Bushnell Launch Pro, there's a $2,000 ball only model and then a $3,500 ball and club data model. So make sure you understand what you actually need and what you're getting, because if you don't care about those club statistics, there's a good chance, depending on the model you want, you might not have to spend quite as much money. Okay, we're getting close here. We got 2 more questions you need to think about, and the next one is, what device are you planning to use this on? So there's some launch monitors where you don't need a phone or a tablet or a gaming PC. You just get all the numbers right on the unit. On the budget side of things, the SC4 Pro is one of those. As for more expensive models, you can get the Bushnell Launch Pro, you can get the Unicore iMini. Those all have built-in screens. But if you're spending all this money on a launch monitor and you're really hoping to get the most out of it, well, then there's a good chance there's an app or a computer program that you're going to want to use along with it. So almost all these devices I've mentioned will have phone apps apps that you can use so you can track all your data over time. Some of these devices will also have a mobile simulator option. Usually this comes in the form of access to E6 Connect, where you can play a handful of courses directly on your iPhone or iPad, and you don't need any other fancy equipment to be able to play like real simulator golf. But if you're looking for a true, more professional simulator setup, then there's a good chance you might need a gaming PC to be able to do it. And if that's the case, then you can expect to spend quite a bit more money. So having a good understanding of what device you want to use, maybe it's nothing at all, maybe it's just using it on your phone, maybe it's on an iPad, maybe it's on a PC, and maybe it's all of the above depending on what you're looking for. Understanding which devices you are planning to use it on is going to factor into both your budget as well as what you are able to do with your launch monitor. So really think about what that looks like for you. And finally, the last thing to consider before buying a launch monitor is there any specific software you are hoping to use? For instance, do all of your friends have GS Pro, and do you want to make sure you can play tournaments against them? Do you like the idea of just being able to use your phone and using E6 Connect? Do you like the convenience of kind of half simulator solutions like Garmin's Home T Hero or Rapsodo's Courses feature, where you can play nearly simulator golf on 42,000 different courses? Or do you not care about any simulator stuff, but do you want to make sure the native app for the device you use is really good and really enjoyable to use for practice? These are all things to consider, and they really do have an impact on the user experience of your device. So make sure you do a little bit of research on the software you're going to be using, because that can truly be the difference between enjoying and loving a product or absolutely hating it. And if you need any help or you have questions or clarification on that, or frankly anything else we've talked about, just drop a comment below and I'll do my very best to help. So there you go. If you are thinking about investing in a golf launch monitor or golf simulator setup, those are all the questions I would be considering. I wish there was a one-size-fits-all solution. I wish I could say, just go buy this, it's the best. But that just doesn't exist. I will link below to 2 different videos. One is my best golf launch monitors. That's the one where I kind of pick out the best for each specific use case. And I will also link to my best golf launch monitors ranked video. That is where I rank my personal favorites from 10 to 1 and give you reasons for why I chose them. And remember, if you're looking for more immediate feedback on which device is right for you, you can go take our 30-second quiz. That's where you're gonna answer a few questions about what you're looking for, and I will give you my best recommendation based on your needs. With that, my name's Sean Ogle. I'm the founder of this thing here at Breaking A, where we talk about cool golf courses and cool golf products. I hope you have an excellent day, and we'll see you on the next video.